Hello everyone, my name is Gerhard Ochsenfeld and I thought that it might be interesting to see some pictures to show the ability of the Samyang 10mm f2.8, a lens especially for APS-C cameras. The Samyang 10mm f2.8 is a prime lens free from modern comfort we are used to enjoy. You need to set focus and aperture both manually. On the other hand, what Samyang offers is an ultra-wide-angle lens of great sharpness from the mid up to the corners. Both chromatic aberrations and distortion are very low. Not any of the zoom lenses, including this focal length, can offer you a split of the picture quality you will reach when using this, nowadays, very unusual lens. Whatever. Before I start, I need to tell you that any cutout enlargement to different photos is 100% at 1920 to 1080 pixel. With this photography, you can see the very imposing bulge front lens protected by an unremovable lens hood and at the same time a comfortable width of around 120 degrees to focus from 24 cm to infinity. Samyang completes this with an inner focus system. For the first, I want to show you even not a skyscraper, but a high building of 15 floors. I use the tripod at a distance of 60 meters and set the camera with a spirit level. You can even see the interspaces between the clinker bricks at the top of the building as well as at its bottom. They are not at last razor sharp, but you can count the bricks if you would like to. More important are my photos at a very low sun and an absolutely clear blue sky. Here you can see the vignetting at an aperture of 2.8. Already at the aperture of 4, the vignetting is no more really relevant, and at an aperture of 5.6 it's absolutely clear. Next, I did want to find out something about lens flares, so I walked up close to the building and close to the sun, mirrored in the glass of the ground floor. But I found nothing. The reflecting of the sun was not strong enough, so I went out another day for another location. The screen of my Canon 60D helped me to find the right point of view. Laying on the ground, my arms stretched towards the water. This simple canal and these two common bridges are by far more likely than they normally used to be. In detail, you can see the rays from the blades of the aperture, not simply bright, but clearly traced and nicely structured. At the same, these rays are not too long, so the effect sets a nice accent without dominance. Reflecting of the aperture itself are less and low. Here is another example of views. There were no 15 meters to the building, the cars rushing not a meter behind me. Using a Canon, this is a full frame equivalent of 16mm. You can use any of the photos from corner to corner at a great sharpness, very low chromatic aberrations and very low distortion. At the high building shown before, I corrected the convex distortion manually with 4 units in Photoshop, while there are no prefixed corrections for this lens. Someone asked for the usability of this lens for astrophotography, but I do not have any experience in this, so I took pictures from a site on the town at night. For the first, I brightened one of the pictures in Photoshop very strong to show the circumstances of the exposure. Maybe the different lights at different distances will give enough information. First, see on the left upper side, taken with f2.8, the street light numbered with 1. This near light is round, without details and with a poor corona. At f4.8, the photos on the right side, the same street light in the foreground is clear and with decent rays from the reflecting of the aperture blades. Here again the two exposures taken at 4.8. Left side, the exposure was taken with pre-adjustments on the camera of 7 units in sharpness and 4 units in contrast. On the right side, pre-adjusted at 5 units in sharpness and only 1 unit in contrast. The too high pre-adjusted contrast destroys some nice details, So, for example, marked with number 3, a red light far in the distance and at the horizon. On the left side, the high contrast darkened this light too much. On the right side, the scanty light is still set clearly at an exposure of 5 seconds at f4.8. A further interest was the usability of this lens for landscape photography. So here, trees and bushes are lining the horizon to see the resolution around infinite focus. The photo in the middle, taken at f4.0 and a 250th of a second, as well as on the right side, taken at f5.6 and 125th of a second, are both the same. There is only a very little risk of vignetting at f4.0. The left exposure, taken at f2.8 and a 500th of a second, this photo is a bit darker, the colors are shifted a little, the corners show the vignetting, so the largest aperture might be a real 3.2. In the cutout of 100%, you see the foreground not sharp but detailed, while I set the focus on the tree line. There are some chromatic aberrations, a bit more at the edge and a bit more at the aperture wide open. Another example. Again, you can find the exposure with f2.8 a little bit darker. You can find the vignetting and a moderate color shift that can easily be corrected. Comparing both exposures, looking at the outtake of 200%, you can't really find a difference in sharpness between f2.8 and f4.0. The weather did not call out for landscape photography and I only went out for test shots. But at last I liked to pick up a nice result. While always recording raw only, I was able to adjust the bright sky and bring a lightly dramatic impression to a common muggy summer day. Landscape photography must not always show a horizon and square miles of a countryside. Here is a shot at the closest focusing distance of 24 centimeters. I used an f4.0. See in 100% fascinating and very clear details. Last, I like to show you what you can do with. I reduced this photography to 200 dots per inch, just enough for a plotter print. In the opposite, I blew the size up to 66 to 38 centimeters or 26 to 15 inches. What you get is a nice and detailed poster. The blurring in the background is okay, but I don't want to argue. Maybe some of you don't like it. Let me explain a trick here. At an aperture of f2.8, I used 3 exposures with different focusing, while the storm had broken this tree very skew. I mounted the 3 focal settings in Photoshop to raise the sharpness of the bowl. And now, let me get into rapture for a moment. This lens comes along very self-confident, with more than 550 grams and 106 millimeters in length when mounted, just for such a small thing like 10 millimeters of focal length. The front lens is so bulged that you can't screw filters on. The lens hood is bulky, but a good protection at the same time. The front lens comes along with a diameter of 73 millimeters or 2.8 inches. I really took this picture only for rapture. So far about the Samyang 10mm f2.8, an uncomfortable but really great lens. See you next. Goodbye.